10 things your cat will never forgive. Your cat is keeping a mental list. Right at this moment, they remember every single thing you've done that crossed their invisible line. And some of those memories, they'll carry them for the rest of their 9 lives. I'm about to expose the shocking truth about what your feline friend refuses to let go of. And number 7 will absolutely devastate you when you realize how many times you've done it without even knowing. I'm James Mitchell, feline relationship coach. My goal is to help you build a deeper bond of love and trust with your cat, one secret at a time. Welcome to Cat Senses, where we decode the mysterious world inside your cat's brain. Listen, if you genuinely care about your furry companion, you need to hear this message all the way through. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button right now. Why? Because understanding what damages your relationship with your cat could save years of distance and mistrust. And while you're at it, hit the like button, not because I'm asking nicely, but because this information could transform the way your cat sees you forever. Drop a comment below telling me your cat's name. I read every single one, and I want to know who we're helping today. Share this with anyone who has a cat because, trust me, they need to know this too. The feline memory bank. Let me explain something crucial about how cats process their world. Your feline companion possesses a remarkable type of memory that scientists refer to as associative recall. What does that mean in plain language? It means your cat connects specific situations, locations, smells, and even the tone of your voice with feelings, whether positive or negative. Here's the part that makes this fascinating and slightly terrifying. Cats never sit around rethinking past events and convincing themselves perhaps it wasn't as terrible as I remember. Their mental process is straightforward and unforgiving. This caused me pain, I will stay away from it. Simple as that. But the real revelation goes deeper than you might expect. Cats don't merely remember your actions, they remember the emotional impact you created inside them. This isn't about holding resentment the same way humans carry grudges. Instead, they're constructing an internal blueprint of what feels safe and what signals danger. Once a certain behavior of yours gets filed into their danger category, they'll make conscious efforts to prevent that situation from happening again. So what exactly are these unforgivable moments that your cat files away forever? Let's expose them one by one and prepare yourself because some of these are things you probably did this week without thinking twice. Before we continue, do me a favor, pause for just 2 seconds and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Your cat will thank you for it, I promise. Number 10. Raised voices and aggressive tones. You might assume your cat doesn't really care when you raise your voice during a phone call or when you're frustrated about something completely unrelated to them. After all, they sometimes just sit there with that blank, unimpressed expression cats are famous for. But the reality behind those calm eyes tells a completely different story. Sharp, loud voices trigger genuine fear in cats. Even when they don't physically run and hide in the moment, they're recording that harsh sound in their mental database as something threatening. Cats have an extraordinary ability to interpret tone, and sudden loudness registers in their brain as a potential threat. Over time, they'll begin distancing themselves from you whenever your voice reaches certain intensity levels, even when your frustration has nothing to do with them directly. Think about it from their perspective. In the wild, loud noises typically mean danger is approaching. Your cat doesn't distinguish between you yelling at traffic or you yelling in their direction. All they process is loud equals unsafe. Quick reminder to leave a like on this video if you're learning something valuable about your feline friend. Number 9. Disrupting their sacred routine. Cats are creatures who worship predictability. They've memorized your entire schedule. They know precisely when breakfast appears, when you typically wake up, when you leave for work, and when you return home. Mess with that routine too frequently, skip meals without warning, shift feeding schedules randomly, or suddenly start coming home hours later than usual, and your cat begins to feel deeply unsettled. This goes beyond simple stress. It plants a persistent seed of insecurity in their mind. An insecurity in a cat's emotional landscape transforms into avoidance, suspicion, and what looks like resentment from the outside. I'll give you an example. I once worked with a client named Sarah who had a gorgeous orange tabby called Felix. Sarah started a new job that completely changed her morning routine. Instead of feeding Felix at 7 a.m. like clockwork, she was rushing out the door by 6:30 a.m., sometimes remembering breakfast and sometimes forgetting it entirely. Within 3 weeks, Felix stopped greeting her at the door. He stopped sleeping on her bed. He became a ghost in his own home. The solution? Sarah set an automatic feeder for 7 a.m. sharp every single day. It took nearly 2 months, but Felix gradually returned to his affectionate self. Routine matters that much. Number 8. Overwhelming sense they can't escape. Your cat's nose is both their greatest strength and their biggest vulnerability. Powerful artificial fragrances, certain household cleaners, strong perfumes, scented candles, air fresheners, even some laundry detergents can be absolutely overwhelming for their sensitive olfactory system. Imagine this scenario. Every time you get close to your cat, you smell exactly like the thing they find most repulsive. What happens over time? They start connecting you personally with that unpleasant odor. In their mind, you've transformed from my trusted human into that person who smells like danger. Here's what most cat guardians never realize. These trust-breaking moments rarely arrive as big, obvious events. More often, they're tiny things that repeat over and over again until your cat's trust quietly begins to crumble. You might never notice the shift happening until one day they simply stop approaching you the way they used to. If this video is opening your eyes to mistakes you didn't know you were making, go ahead and share it with another cat owner. They need this information too. Number 7. Restraining them against their will. This is the big one that I hinted at earlier. The everyday habit that countless loving cat owners practice, believing it's affectionate, but that actually erodes trust every single time it happens. I'm talking about holding your cat when they want to leave. You might call it a hug. You might believe it's a sign of love. But in your cat's world, being physically restrained when they're trying to escape represents one of the fastest ways to destroy their trust in you. Cats are animals of choice and consent. They decide when physical contact begins and when it ends. The moment you take away that choice, even for just a few seconds, you violated an unspoken rule that governs their entire sense of safety. And here's the part that makes this particularly damaging. Your intentions don't matter to them at all. Cats don't evaluate why you restrained them. They only remember how it felt, the frustration, the helplessness, the stress flooding their body as they struggle to break free. That experience gets filed under danger memory, and they'll store it alongside every other situation they want to avoid in the future. Let me tell you about a cat named Whiskers who belonged to a well-meaning family. They loved Whiskers deeply, but every time guests visited, they would grab Whiskers and hold him to show him off, even when his body language clearly communicated discomfort. After months of this, Whiskers stopped coming out when guests arrived. Then he stopped sitting with his family during regular evenings. Eventually, he became a cat who only emerged at night when everyone was asleep. The family couldn't understand what changed, but Whiskers understood perfectly. He'd learned that his choices didn't matter, so he removed himself from situations where his autonomy could be violated. Number 6. Forcing physical affection at the wrong moment. This connects directly to restraining them, but it deserves its own category. This happens when you push for cuddles, pets, or physical closeness when your cat is clearly not interested. Maybe they're napping peacefully, grooming themselves, staring intently out the window, or just existing in their own space, and you interrupt to pick them up or pet them excessively. In human terms, imagine someone bursting into your room and forcing a hug on you while you're deep into reading a book or watching an intense movie. Even if you love that person, you'd feel annoyed and invaded, right? For cats, this irritation multiplies because they interpret it as you completely ignoring their boundaries. Here's a truth that every cat owner needs to tattoo on their brain. The strongest, deepest bonds with cats form when you let them choose the moment of affection. When they approach you on their own terms, they associate you with comfort and safety. When you force contact at the wrong time, they start seeing you as unpredictable and boundary crossing. And unpredictability is the enemy of trust in the feline world. Drop a comment below and tell me, does your cat come to you for affection or do you usually initiate it? I'm curious to know. Number 5. Touching forbidden zones without invitation. Every single cat has sensitive areas that are off limits unless they explicitly give permission. Common ones include the paws, the belly, the base of the tail, and for some cats, even their back can be a no-touch zone unless they invite it. When you handle these areas without their consent, you're not just making them uncomfortable, you're deeply unsettling them on an instinctual level. Take the belly, for instance. This area protects vital organs, so exposing it represents one of the highest possible signs of trust a cat can offer you. If you violate that trust by reaching for their belly without an invitation, you're sending a contradictory message. I see your vulnerability, but I'm going to disregard it anyway. And believe me when I tell you, they will remember that violation. This doesn't mean you can never touch these spots. It means the invitation must come from them first. Think of it as earning a privilege, not exercising a right. The more you honor their physical boundaries, the more likely they'll eventually grant you access to these vulnerable areas. I worked with a client named Marcus who had a beautiful black cat named Shadow. Marcus loved rubbing Shadow's belly because it was so soft. But Shadow never actually rolled over and exposed his belly as an invitation. Marcus would flip Shadow over to get to the belly. After 6 months of this, Shadow stopped sleeping near Marcus entirely. When Marcus finally learned to wait for Shadow's invitation, it took nearly a year to rebuild what had been lost. Number 4. Traumatic vet visits without preparation. Some things in life are unavoidable, and veterinary visits fall into that category. But how you handle these necessary experiences makes an enormous difference in whether they become traumatic memories or just uncomfortable ones. Picture this from your cat's perspective. Suddenly being stuffed into a carrier, enduring a noisy car ride, then being handled by strangers in a room that smells completely foreign and threatening. For a cat, this represents sensory overload at the maximum level. If every vet trip becomes a sudden, chaotic event with no warning, your cat will associate you with that overwhelming stress because you're the one who took them there. They don't understand you're trying to keep them healthy. They only know that you transported them to a terrifying place. Here's the key to minimizing this trauma: preparation and calmness. Leave the carrier out for days or weeks before the appointment. Make it a comfortable space with treats and familiar bedding. Reward your cat before the trip, during if possible, and definitely after. Keep your own energy calm and reassuring. If you skip all this and just grab and go, your cat will file that memory under "never again if I can help it." And next time you bring out the carrier, you'll spend an hour dragging them out from under the bed. Quick pause. If you're finding this information helpful, hit that like button and subscribe to Cat Census. We post content like this every week to help you understand your cat better. Number 3. Moving to a new home without adaptation. From a human perspective, moving is just a logistical challenge. Packing boxes, hiring movers, getting new keys, starting fresh in a different space. But for your cat, moving represents the complete destruction of their entire known world. Every corner, every scent, every sound in your previous home was part of their carefully constructed security map. When you remove them from that environment and drop them into a completely unfamiliar place without warning or preparation, they experience it as a form of exile. Here's what you observe: a cat hiding under furniture for days, refusing to eat, avoiding all eye contact. Here's what they're experiencing internally: where did my territory disappear to? Why am I in this strange place? Is it safe here? Will my person abandon me too? Without gradual adaptation, slowly introducing them to the new space, bringing familiar items that smell like home, keeping their feeding and play routine identical, the move transforms into a trauma that lingers in their memory. I knew a couple who moved twice in 3 years. They had a sweet cat named Bella. Each time they moved, Bella was simply scooped up on moving day with zero preparation. No chance to explore the new place gradually. No familiar sense except the carrier she hated. By the second move, Bella had completely changed. She was no longer the cat who greeted them at the door. She hid in a closet for weeks, only emerging at night when the house was quiet and dark. The owners thought Bella had become antisocial, but Bella was simply protecting herself from a world that had proven dangerously unpredictable. Number 2. Ignoring signs of illness or pain. Cats are masters at concealing discomfort. In the wild, showing weakness could attract predators, so they've evolved to mask pain as effectively as possible. This means by the time you notice something is obviously wrong, the problem has likely been developing for weeks or even months. When you see changes, eating less than normal, hiding more frequently, using the litter box differently, becoming less active, and you dismiss them as probably nothing, you're sending a silent but powerful message to your cat. Your suffering isn't important enough for me to take action. Of course, you don't mean it that way. Life gets overwhelming, veterinary visits are expensive, and sometimes symptoms seem to disappear for a day, and everything appears fine again. But if your cat associates you with neglect during their most vulnerable moments, that memory becomes a warning signal in their brain. And warnings in a cat's mind don't easily get erased. I consulted with a woman named Jennifer who noticed her cat Milo was drinking more water than usual and losing weight. She kept meaning to make a vet appointment, but kept putting it off for 3 months. When she finally took Milo in, he had developed diabetes that could have been managed much more easily if caught earlier. Even after treatment started and Milo felt better, he never fully trusted Jennifer the same way. He'd learned that his signals of distress didn't trigger immediate care. Number 1. Abandonment in any form. This is the ultimate act of betrayal, the one mistake that can shatter a cat's heart completely. And here's what makes this particularly devastating. Abandonment in a cat's mind doesn't only mean being left on the street or surrendered to a shelter. To them, abandonment includes being suddenly taken to a boarding facility they've never seen, being left with complete strangers without any preparation, or even being confined to a separate part of your home for extended periods without explanation. It's not about your intentions or your reasons, it's entirely about how they perceive what happened. For a cat, your presence serves as their anchor in an unpredictable world. They may appear independent, but you represent their one reliable constant in a life they can't fully control. When that constant disappears without warning, it shakes their entire foundation of safety. And here's the most heartbreaking part of all. They don't understand concepts like, "I'll be back next week," or "I'm just on vacation." They don't grasp schedules or travel plans. All they comprehend is that one day you were there and the next day you vanished. Why abandonment feels different to cats. A dog might optimistically assume you'll return. A cat? They're far more cautious. They mentally prepare for the very real possibility that you might never come back. This survival instinct runs deep in their DNA. In the wild, a feline who loses their trusted companion is typically on their own permanently. That's exactly why when you disappear unexpectedly, their brain automatically files it under "the world just became dangerous." Some cats respond to perceived abandonment by withdrawing completely. Others might act out, scratching furniture they normally ignore, urinating outside the litter box, refusing food entirely. These aren't signs of bad behavior or spite. They're survival responses to fear and confusion. The lasting impact of temporary absence. Even short-term separations can create long-lasting consequences. Leaving your cat at a boarding facility without gradual exposure can make them associate you with the stress they endured there. Staying with a pet sitter they've never met can trigger the same reaction. I once consulted with a couple who went on a 2-week vacation. They left their cat Oreo with a trusted neighbor who fed him, played with him, and kept him completely safe. But Oreo had never met this neighbor before the day his owners left. When the couple returned home, Oreo didn't greet them at the door like he always had. He hid under the bed for weeks. It took nearly 3 months for Oreo to resume sleeping on their bed at night. To the owners, nothing bad had happened. Oreo had food, water, attention, and safety. But to Oreo, his entire world had disappeared without warning, and the bond he'd built over years was no longer something he could fully trust. How to prevent this break? Sometimes you absolutely must leave. Emergencies happen, family obligations arise, medical situations occur. The key is minimizing the shock to your cat's system. Familiarize them with the caregiver well before you leave, multiple visits over several weeks if possible. Leave items with your scent where they sleep. Keep their routine as identical as possible. Same feeding times, same type of food, same play schedule, same sleeping arrangements. Make your absence gradual when you can. Start with short periods away before a longer trip. These steps won't eliminate the stress entirely, but they can help your cat understand that you remain their constant even when you're physically absent. Abandonment within your own home. Cats can also experience abandonment while you're both living in the same house. Maybe you've had to confine them to one room during home renovations. Maybe a new pet or a new baby suddenly receives all your attention and your cat starts spending most of their time alone. Maybe you've just gotten busier with work and don't have time to interact with them anymore. If they feel excluded from the life you previously shared, they interpret it as losing their position in your social group, and that hurts more deeply than most people could possibly understand. I knew a man named David who adopted a second cat. He was so focused on helping the new cat adjust that he accidentally started ignoring his first cat, Luna. Luna had been his devoted companion for 5 years. Within 2 months, Luna stopped sleeping in his room. She stopped coming when called. She became invisible. David didn't even notice until his girlfriend pointed it out. It took 6 months of intentional one-on-one time to bring Luna back. The common thread: safety equals love. Looking back over all 10 things your cat might never forgive, the yelling, the disrupted routines, the unwanted touches, the stressful vet trips, the overwhelming scents, the little betrayals, the forced affection, the ignored illness, the chaotic moves, and the ultimate abandonment, they all share one crucial element. They threaten your cat's sense of safety. For a cat, safety is love. It's the foundation behind every purr, every head bump, every slow blink, every time they choose to sleep near you. The moment they stop feeling safe with you, the entire relationship changes. And whether that shift becomes temporary or permanent depends entirely on what you do next. Why this matters more than you think. Cats are frequently misunderstood because they don't express emotions the way humans do, or even the way dogs do. They won't confront you with words. They won't give you obvious signs of hurt feelings. They'll just change. Sometimes the change is subtle. Sometimes it's dramatic. And if you're not paying careful attention, you might not notice until the bond is already damaged. By avoiding these unforgivable acts, and by actively repairing trust when you've made mistakes, you're not just making your cat like you more. You're giving them the one thing they value above everything else: a safe, predictable, loving home where they can fully relax. A personal challenge for you. If you've recognized yourself in one or several of these mistakes, start making changes today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Speak more softly around your cat. Keep their routine steady and predictable. Honor their physical boundaries without exception. Prepare them carefully for any changes or stressful events. And above all else, be their constant, the one presence in their life they can always count on without question. Your cat will notice these changes. They may not thank you with words, but they'll thank you in their own language, with increased trust, physical closeness, and a bond that deepens over time instead of fading. Final words from James Mitchell. The relationship you share with your cat is a living, breathing thing. It's fragile, it's beautiful, and it's absolutely worth protecting with everything you have. Never take it for granted, because once trust is broken, it becomes one of the hardest things in the world to repair. So guard that trust carefully, nurture it daily, and remember this: in your cat's eyes, you are their entire world. Treat that responsibility with the care and respect it deserves. Before you go, do 3 things for me and for your cat. First, smash that like button if this video opened your eyes to the hidden ways cats experience trust and betrayal. Second, subscribe to Cat Senses and hit the notification bell so you never miss content that will deepen your bond with your feline friend. Third, share this video with every cat owner you know. Not for me, but for the cats who can't speak for themselves. Let's make sure no cat has to endure an unforgivable act ever again. Drop a comment below telling me which of these 10 mistakes you've made. We've all made at least one, and which one you're going to start fixing today. I read every comment, and I want to hear your story. Until next time, this is James Mitchell reminding you your cat is always watching, always remembering, and always hoping you'll be the person they can trust completely. Don't let them down. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Your cat is counting on you.